Isaac, happy Good News Day.
Josho, it is indeed the good news day. The worst fears were not realized. The best hopes were not realized either, but the worst fears were not realized. And are you serious? Very impressive.
The truck feels sluggish. Let me just take a look at what's going on back here.
That's a lot of lumber.
That's a pretty big amount of lumber, yes.
It's a whole bunch of wood. Yeah, no. So we had our post-election trucks last time, which everybody liked, and we're not going to spend this whole trucks talking about the election because with
you already know.
Yeah, you know, this is a return to normalcy, which is us not talking about politics all of the time.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, no. What this is, in fact, is like the very short grace period before we start.
I already have things to say. I could do a politics trucks. It's just that I don't want to.
I mean, I actually had one stored up, which is now sort of dissipated over the last couple of days. But the executive version of what I had to say about it, which has mellowed in the face of everybody's general optimism, goodwill, was how the fuck did you screw this up so badly? You had 70 fucking million people voted for him. More people voted for him than voted for him last time. Why are you so bad? What is the actual difference? What is the hope that you offer people? You fucking corporate shill chuds. Fuck you. Fuck you all. Fuck you for betraying us over and over again, is what I've been holding on to for like a year and a half, because
I think that sums it up.
It was important to get out the vote for Biden, you know?
Yeah.
Because we couldn't afford 4 more years of Trump. But now that Biden's in office, I'm like, you fucking imbeciles.
He's already getting Mitt Romney. The reports are, it's looking like it might be some bogus bullshit I saw, but it looks like he's putting Mitt Romney in charge of some Health and Human Services department.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Mitt actually presided over the first universal health care system that we had in this country in Massachusetts when he was governor there. So, you know.
Indeed, but he's also a total austerity creep, isn't he? Oh,
yeah.
Let's not get into it.
Yeah, exactly. That's not actually what this trucks is about. I just needed to get a little bit of it off of my chest.
We're feeling vaguely encouraged, but still troubled in the big picture. But it remains Good News Day. I mean, you know, I for one am very excited to have an executive branch that actually does something when a hurricane hits somewhere, just for starters.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to fewer casualties, ideally. You know, maybe a better pandemic response that I can actually travel and see my friends and loved ones in other parts of the country at some point in the foreseeable future. That'd be nice. You know, just basic things like that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Someday we'll
on the part of the leadership.
Someday we'll do an episode about whether reconciling with Republicans is actually possible.
Yeah, I mean,
and until then, let's talk about VTubers.
Yeah. So, so one of the things that I did while I was strenuously not paying attention to politics in the immediate run-up to the election, because who needs that kind of agita, was I discovered, you know, they've been around for a while, and I'd heard rumblings, but I discovered VTubers, and I'm going to explain what a VTuber is to my dad, who is going to be listening to this.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good way to. I mean, I also need this explanation.
Yeah.
So, before you dive in, may I just tell you how VTubers came onto my radar?
Oh yeah, please, and I will tell you the same in just a second.
Yeah. Really, It came as quite a surprise. I think around the height of PUBG, I was enjoying like digging into some PUBG content, some highlight reels and stuff, and it just out of fucking nowhere, in the corner of some of these highlights were like little anime girls doing like pretty convincing anime girl voices with like what was clearly some kind of face tracking tech.
Yes.
My controller has stopped responding while my truck is barreling forward. There we go. Oh,
cool. Oh no. Please.
Come on.
We can't abandon this episode.
We're safe. Everything's fine.
The steering wheel just stopped working there for a moment, but everything's fine, and that oncoming truck missed us, so we're good. But
yes,
anyway, yes.
After, and you know, the highlight reels would just continue on as if nothing
that was a
bizarre
normal
had
thing
happened.
to do.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, and that's really about it. That's pretty much all the VTuber content I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there have been you've seen that we've known about face rigs for a while.
Sure. Yeah.
And and I suppose that we should have seen coming that would lead to a wave of virtual YouTubers, which is what VTuber stands for. But it's only within like the last year or so that they've really got the technology working and they've figured out how to do it right. And the way that this broke into my consciousness, although I was aware of it existing beforehand, but I was a 6-second YouTube animation which went viral, which consisted of a dog girl having a discussion with a skull.
A skull, yes.
From a skull from Banjo-Kazooie.
Okay. Yeah, I know the skull.
Going ikam bokam at each other. Have you seen this? Have you seen this video?
I haven't seen this video. No.
It was briefly absolutely everywhere.
Huh.
And little did I know at the time that dog girl was Inugami Korone, a member of the Hololive talent agency, an idol agency in Japan, which has now multiple generations of virtual idols. And this is not like Hatsune Miku, who is our previous standard of virtual idol, who is nobody in particular, who is fully virtual. These are real human beings.
Yes.
Who are operating under pseudonyms. Yes.
Yeah.
Her real name is not Inugami Korone because Inugami means dog god. She is a talented young woman who is playing a Twitch streamer.
Yes, playing an anime-inflected Twitch streamer.
Well, she's an anthropomorphic dog woman, although not like a dog furry, a woman in a cute outfit with dog ears.
And her mannerisms are those. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but her mannerisms are those of an anime character rather than those of like a real young woman, right?
Well, I mean, it is Japan, and so those things, particularly in a like
performance context,
in a performance context, do overlap with each other. But I'm sure that in civilian life, she's not exactly the same person as. But
it's fair to say that it is heightened. Yeah.
Oh, of course. Well, I mean, that's the point.
Right.
And she exists within an idol system, which is a system which has like been a thing in Japan for decades.
Yeah, I want you to clarify that, because when I think of an idol system, I think of like very high turnover and like very exhausting training, like intensely tight choreography, and very exacting like specifications about what someone who wants to rise to the top of this thing has to be. Is this like that?
Well, so these are the, and I would like to say that I don't know everything about this. In fact,
Sure.
I know very little about this, but I kind of don't want to know a lot about this, and I think that a lot of people don't know a lot about this because of the way that this sort of information is disseminated. But so sort of the classic idea associated with a Japanese idol system is that you are trying to create these celebrity singer, dancer, entertainers, right?
Yeah.
Who become like beloved celebrities for like a few years until they get too old, and then they're basically put out to pasture and taken out behind the barn and shot, as it were. They graduate in quotes from their idol classes, and then a new class of younger, cuter girls comes in, and this feeds the largely male, but not exclusively male, Japanese audience's desire to look at cute girls and to consume media and to idolize people. And so the cycle continues, and it sort of chews people up and spits them out.
Right.
The difference with these virtual YouTubers, and in before there is some sort of scandal that reveals that this is all as like harrowing and abusive as existing idol systems can be, but since it's not their real names, since it's not their real faces, it seems healthier to me, and also because they are performing, but they're not performing like, you know, song and dance routines. They're not having to do that sort of harrowing, you know, training montages that that we associate with idols who like have to, you know, get their choreography down and do voice lessons and have this fierce competition with each other and all of this. They are instead being Twitch streamers. And of course, as we know, you don't have to know how to do fucking anything to be a Twitch streamer.
Right.
In some cases, it's better if you don't know how to do anything to be a successful Twitch streamer. All you have to be is engaging and personal and human, which is particularly interesting because, of course, they're not human. They're anime dog, cat, rabbit, sheep girls.
Why
did
my GPS just make me do this? Go over.
That's an excellent question.
So I have a question. When you call it an idol company, why, like, what aspect of the idol system does hold true here? Why call it that instead of just like a talent company?
Because it's organized in the same way that idol companies are organized in terms of the way that the talent is presented. They're divided into classes, which have their debuts, and they're different generations. Yeah. Although because it's the internet, those generations are like coming way faster than you would expect them to if they were, you know, actual, you know, performing artists.
Yeah, I see.
It's run by a shadowy male figure known only as Yagu.
And in this case, the company that's managing all this is also the company that developed the software, right?
I don't think that's true.
Oh, no?
I think that there was some confusion over that in the Discord, but
Is it possible to independently license the software, or do you have to license it through one of these idol companies?
I don't know the answer to that question, John. I
genuinely don't know. I guess you would find the answer to that in whether or not there seem to exist any independent VTubers of any note.
Well, there are. In fact, some of the members of the first class were independent VTubers before they were signed by this organization.
Oh, very interesting.
Which has existed. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page so that I cannot spread misinformation. But this talent agency, which is owned and operated by the not at all worryingly named Cover Corporation, was launched in 2017. They have there's a male Holo VTuber agency called Holo Stars also, which obviously isn't nearly as famous over here. Mm-hmm. They have their own music label to release music made by these people, although the most famous ones over here are not singers as far as I'm concerned. They have overseas branches in China, which they just had to shut down their Chinese branch like within the last week that happened for reasons which I do not even want to remotely speculate about. An Indonesian branch and an English language branch, which is staffed, as far as I can see, by bilingual Japanese English girls.
Right.
They just released Indonesian talents.
Okay.
Right. And it looks like, you know, and one of the newer girls in 2020, her like identity was leaked, and the identity of her boyfriend was leaked, and that resulted in like her being suspended from the company for a couple of weeks. So it is kind of just like an idol agency.
Yeah. Okay. And it's interesting because when we think of Twitch streamers, generally we think, and it seems like these characters even somewhat present as just like young people in their bedrooms, independently reaching out to an audience.
100%. I did not, when I first encountered, you know, and started, you know, going down the YouTube rabbit hole for these folks, I did not know that it was this whole entertainment product thing. Exactly. I just thought, oh, this is cool. This, you know, this person is getting a lot of traction overseas. Where were we before?
I was asking about I was trying to get a better sense of this thing through how the business is arranged, but I feel like at this point, now that we've established that it's in fact big business, I'm curious to know how does that affect like the presentation, or does it?
Well, I mean, that is the interesting thing to me, because the presentation is very much designed to minimize that aspect of it.
Yeah.
And although, like, it's, you know, they acknowledge that they're part of, like, this Hololive stable, or this, you know, organization, and that they're part of these generations, and these girls are their, you know, stablemates / rivals and all of that stuff. That part is leaned on specifically so that they can play up the meta level narrative of, like, because there's been all this entertainment about what the lives of, like, idols are like the Love Live series and all of and a bunch of anime, which is, you know, like, these girls and their friendships, you know, become the focus. You know, who's doing their best, you know, who's on the rise in the organization and who isn't. And so there's what is mostly focused on is these VTubers' relationships with each other. And of course there's enormous amounts of shipping, which is, at least in some of the cases that I've seen, teased to a fare thee well by the performers themselves.
Yeah.
Who, you know, are, you know, basically gay baiting for a male audience.
Right.
Again, not an exclusively male audience, but are, you know, the bulk of their presentation is still being a Twitch streamer.
And they're doing all of this while, like, playing games that, of course, were made by other companies, which that's actually kind of a weird question to think about too, is like there's this whole weird fair use question of, like, independent streamers using, like, games to generate their own transformative content, but that picture sort of changes, doesn't it, when it's like a company doing that?
Yeah, no, I expect that
it's gonna ruin Twitch streaming for all of us, isn't it?
Well, this is an entirely separate conversation, which has been continuing to happen, because it's not like you can, I mean, it's not like this is actually changing that, because, you know, whether it's, you know, there is a corporation involved or not, people like Ninja and PewDiePie are essentially corporate entities. You know, at this point, they are brands. Markiplier is a brand. And most video game corporations, although not all of them, and, like, this is inside baseball, you and I both know about, you know, about how this has been how this has been handled, but most companies, after initial resistance of the kind that you describe, have concluded that the PR for the games that they get from these extremely popular streamers playing them is far more advantageous to them in their sales and to their, you know, engagement than trying to shut these very popular streamers down.
Some companies are lagging behind in acceptance of it. Nintendo are, you know, famously...
Even
they
Nintendo
haven't really done anything to shut it down, but they do still seem to telegraph discomfort with it from time to time.
They certainly do, and but they previously they were, you know, I think they had, you know, there were some legal attempts to get these to stop by Nintendo, but they just gave up at some point. Yeah. And now they just sort of let it be, which is, I think, where most companies go with it, because even if it wasn't fundamentally better for them, which it is from a business standpoint, I think most people understand that at this point, they can't really do anything about it.
Indeed.
You know, and if you want to talk big corporations, Twitch is owned by who?
Yes, indeed, Amazon. Yeah, no one wants to fight against Amazon, do they? Mm-hmm. Okay, so having explored the kind of what this comprises side of it, I guess the next question I want to ask you is this entertaining? Are you enjoying watching this stuff?
Well, I'm not a person who watches unedited streams as a general matter. I don't have the attention span or, frankly, the time to do that. But in clip form, and there are many, many, many lovingly edited and subtitled, translated clips on YouTube of these performers.
Right.
If you want to get a sense of what the appeal is, you should maybe look at Korone or Korone doing a stream of the original Super Mario Brothers entirely in English. Like that's her challenge for herself for that one, is to try to just speak English for it. And it is just like the most stick it into your fucking veins weaponized cuteness that you can imagine. And of course, because it's all very, there are VTubers out there for every taste. Whatever you would like in a girl talking to you over the internet is available for you. Having said that, I enjoy. I'm not enjoying it as like I'm a huge fan of what these people are doing, as much as I'm enjoying it because I'm just boggling at the sheer weaponized,
Yeah, you have an anthropological interest, as
marketing of it all. Yeah, like it's.
This is a lovely little scene, by the way. I think this is. We may be in Washington. It's hard to know for sure.
I don't think our route goes to Washington, does it?
I think it did go through. Started in Oregon, cut through Washington, and ended up in Idaho, if I recall correctly.
Show me the map. Sure.
Zoom.
We are definitely in Washington.
Look at that.
No, we're not. We are in Oregon.
We're right on the border.
Oh no, we're right on the Oregon border. Okay, that makes sense. So that is we're in fact in the Columbia River Gorge, past.
We're
the
looking
Dells,
at Washington,
which is why this is one of the most. This is one of the most beautiful places in the world. I do this drive all the time. I should have been able to recognize it. But yeah, that's the Columbia River over there. But anyway, yeah, no, so I love watching fandoms grow and fandom behavior. This is a long-standing thing with me.
Sure.
And so watching the memes that crop up around these people, and then the YouTube animated clips that crop up around these people, and the long-term storylines and that are sometimes just in the brains of the fans, but then because it's a conversational form, there's that's more than anything else predicated on the interaction between the viewers and the streamer. That immediately gets picked up and reincorporated, so memes become reified like that.
Yeah.
And the line between canon and fanon is like, this is all stuff that Homestuck predicted essentially, or was sort of an early example of, but
sure,
they're just right there with each other, while at the same time there being this element of separation because they are anonymous as human beings hiding behind these digital avatars. And I'm sure they have like brand guidelines that they need to follow, but it's not very strict as far as I can tell. Everything is very casual,
Yeah.
And they can swear, they can, intimate lewd things about each other. They seem to have a very high degree of like personal freedom within the sort of bounds of this presentation.
So how would you distinguish the experience of watching this from the experience of watching a normal Twitch streamer?
Well, there's I personally, when I'm watching a normal Twitch streamer, I'm like, oh, hey, there's a person, I know what they're about. Whereas with this, I'm like, I am interacting with an entertainment product that is trying to trick me.
Right.
And I can admire the way that it's trying to trick me, but I'm not forming that, parasocial connection. Whereas, like, the tenor of the fandom, as far as I can see, is like, just everybody loves the streamer.
Yeah.
Whereas with, and this might be a gender thing because, like, these are, Japanese girls, and most of the streamers that I'm familiar with are American men. There are not a lot of famous American male or like Western female streamers that operate under their own name. I wonder why, And it's like, even the change.
It might be. There definitely are a lot of Western female streamers. I don't.
Are there
know
any famous ones?
Definitely their male counterparts do better, but you can make a lot of money doing it as a woman for sure. And part of it is like, there's all kinds of weird archetypes there, like many of which are talked about in as gross a way as you would expect. But it's like a recognized phenomenon that, like, I think like Twitch had to make fucking rules about whether it was okay to show cleavage. and all
Right.
this shit. Like, it's regulated. It's almost like an idol company, except a lot more independent
Yes.
contractor-ish. Yeah, so there's a lot going on there that I haven't really dug into deeply myself, but there are definitely guys out there like forming parasocial relationships with women on Twitch who are making just oodles of cash on it off of it, you know.
Well, I mean, let me introduce my dad to the term simping while we're at it.
Right.
Or maybe I won't. But
It's a fun Google there for you.
yeah, but I guess I do not regularly watch these folks.
Right.
And can't think of any of their names, and that might be because
We're not in that audience.
Yeah. But it is interesting to see, like, there's even a gradation as far as, and this is like, my unscientific, just looking through the YouTube comments and seeing the way that people interact, but there's uncomplicated adoration for the Japanese speaking idols. And then with the English speaking idols, you get some negging.
Yeah.
And you get some of the are you a real gamer stuff.
Ooh, okay.
And then, and I can only imagine that if you go to real English speaking human beings, that get like that intensifies. Oh, I should say, I do watch, actually there is a streamer who's a woman who I watch regularly, as regularly as I watch any streamers, which is not very much, but she has zero audience. So we're talking about folks that have mass appeal here.
Uh-huh. I'm sorry, I've been focusing on the multivalent roadwork situation. Did you catch what's going on?
No, I didn't.
There was roadwork on the exit I needed to take, and also it seems to want me to do a U-turn and go back the other way, but that exit also had roadwork on it. So
right over the median strip, man. You're in Eastern Oregon hell right now.
I think I have a plan though. I think it should be possible for me to just kind of,
oh my god,
go up this away and around like so, and then eventually end up back over there.
As long as that's a real highway, then yeah.
This looks like a real highway. Yeah, it's gonna add some time.
Whatever. There's plenty to talk about here, obviously.
Yes. So it sounded, to drive back a little bit. Earlier, you said that their virtuality sort of acted as kind of a stoppage for you in the forming of any kind of parasocial type relationship with these characters, right? They feel more. It feels more like watching a cartoon character than like watching a YouTuber.
Well, not even a cartoon character necessarily. Just sort of more of a. Even though there's always, of course, an element of artificiality in any media presentation, there's always the goal, perhaps, of making you feel like there isn't, because at least on the part of the folks who want to make money out of it, the goal is to make people feel like they're friends with their performers. And this is something that predates internet culture. This is something that predates TV, I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like, when we talk about forming parasocial relationships through media, even though through our generation that feels mostly, podcast and streamer based, there's people who felt like, the local radio show were their buddies in their house, and that was sort of always the vibe that they wanted, because that was best for advertising and
Alex Trebek
engagement
died today, and I'm kind of sad about it.
Yeah, he seemed like a fun guy, kind of an angry dad in some ways, but
Does he have a
seems unfair
for behind the scenes anger? I hadn't heard.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, but I do not wish to speak ill of the dead. And but he was a figure who's pretty much universally loved. Mm-hmm. There was that weird period where he had a mustache. That was
right.
But yeah, no. At least for me, the sheer, and I'm way. It's far easier for me to form these sort of parasocial feelings with folks who are less competent presenters and who sort of play up the way that they're less competent presenters.
Yeah, like us.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a continuum of how like if you present me with somebody like a Markiplier, I'm like, I don't know whether that's even a human being.
Yeah,
you know?
It was interesting when you mentioned earlier that like the fact that they feel like entertainment products that are cleverly manipulating you rather than normal Twitch streamers, because my first thought was there, well, that kind of sounds in a way like normal Twitch streamers of your Markiplier ilk, you know, like that is a mannequin, not a person.
Yeah, and it's very interesting, right? Because take Game Grumps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Aaron,
there's no doubt when you're watching Game Grumps that those are their actual personalities.
Yes, although they're
I would say
they're obvious. Like Aaron is playing up his
they're performing. They are performing.
Exactly, but yeah, no, they let you in a lot, you know, and there's a lot of what I feel is almost a classic move is the streamer will open up about their mental health struggles bit.
Yes.
The very special episode where they do that and, you know, remind you that you're a human too, or that they're humans. And I don't want to call that cynical because I don't think it is in like
most
cases.
They're connecting with their audience a little bit, like.
Yeah, but it's sort of one of those reassuring. Oh yeah, you have your faults and your struggles, and and I'm your friend because you're telling me about them and you trust me.
Yes.
Even though we're not their friends, but I know a lot about them.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot about what they like, and I have my theories about who they are, and what their deep and dark secrets and desires are.
Yeah.
Because we've been let in so much. And there are people within that frame who like intentionally make choices that they've read or they've been told by marketers that will increase their audience. Because I wanted to I use Game Grumps as an example because they have both things going on. There is that intimate, these are the real people feeling, but they also definitely are intentionally presenting their product in the most marketable way that they can, in a way that's almost a little bit clumsy and endearing.
Yeah.
But they know clickbait, they know thumbnails. They're leaning into it a little bit so that that they know it's a joke too, but they still are doing it, right?
Yes. He will die as he lived, fully monetized, I think.
I watched that video too. That did come out
joke.
of Aaron's mouth. Yeah. And then you get, so that's sort of maybe the midpoint. And then you go over to people who are just fully realized entertainment products. They might not always have been, but they certainly are now, like Markiplier is.
Yeah, and us.
Yes, we are obviously the most polished, product that you've ever encountered.
It's been a long road getting. But
I think we've finally got it down. Professional trucks is finally here to stay.
We can actually kind of speak to the other side of this a little bit. Obviously not on the great fame side of things, but there was a time when we talked sometimes on trucks about like who's listening to these, and we just sort of mused to one another about how it was this anonymous blob of presumably pretty cool people who are at least on somewhat of a wavelength with us. And we kind of, I think that you and I did feel some kind of earnest feeling toward that anonymous blob of audience, right? And we still do, but it's changed a lot now, because I feel like now when we do these, we're kind of talking to the presumed audience of those cats and kittens that we know from the Trucks Discord.
We've now converted this mostly from a parasocial situation into a social situation.
Yes, mostly, but not
mostly,
entirely.
Not 100%. There are some of you who have not come into the Trucks Discord, and frankly, I respect you for that.
Yeah.
And there are people in the Trucks Discord who have never watched an episode of Trucks.
Keep it para, It's There's something special about it in a way, or don't, because it's fun to talk to you too.
I will say that one of the major things that has changed for me in my life since we started doing Trucks, and this is I think partially as a result of doing Trucks, is that I no longer want to grow my audience. I think of growing my audience as a largely negative thing, because the more you grow your audience, the more people who are not that sort of maybe largely imaginary but cool simpatico group will enter your audience.
Yeah.
And
I want to grow my audience for certain things, but maybe not for this.
No, this is just fine.
This is exactly what it ought to be. Yeah.
And when I do want my audience to if there's anything that I do want to have an audience grow for, I want to have that layer of artificiality and sort of distance between me and the, you know, I'd like to have my
that's
digital
a riddle,
puppet
isn't it?
Presenting it.
Like, how does one achieve that when they're also doing something like trucks? It's something I've been puzzling with, because, you know, my music project has a sort of cryptic name in Circular Errands, but also like if anyone were to come across that, it wouldn't.
You gave your last EP a sort of Aphex Twinny, you know, puzzling string of characters title, and
yeah, sort of, yeah.
I mean, it's not, you know, if somebody cares enough to look into enough to find the other shit that you're doing, you know, they're probably already on board. But,
yeah.
You know, it's also like, I don't think either of us want to or are interested in becoming professional entertainers.
I don't know.
Although maybe I'm just speaking for myself there.
Who knows? If somehow enough people want to buy my weird music on Bandcamp that it's actual money, then yeah, sounds great.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's not going to become your living.
Yes, most likely not.
I mean, I don't mean to. You know what? I'm limiting your possibilities by saying that. But most likely, as you say, not. Because even there are people who are far, far more successful at everything that they put out than we are, who still do not make a living.
Yep.
And if you do make a living, it's probably through Patreon, which is a whole different kettle of fish. Or through simps, of course. We could try to cultivate some simps.
I feel like we're kind of getting into the weird underlayer of all of this, which is that, like, making yourself into a weird brand is kind of the entire way to be online these days.
I think that you have to. Like, I wanted to talk about Germa while we were talking about this. Because there's a guy who does not do any of the marketing stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, he actively eschews clickbait. He doesn't promote himself at all. He's absolutely playing a character. But we've known him long enough to know that character is like a couple of degrees at best off of who he actually is.
Yeah.
And he's just, you know, but I mean, I think that one of the ways that you handle this is to create what I feel is perhaps the healthy relationship between a streamer and his audience. And I find this in a number of streamers who I watch, which is friendly contempt. Mutually.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The vibe that I feel the most comfortable with, you know, which happens with a lot of streamers, like just the audience bagging on the streamer relentlessly, and vice versa, which just seems like a good way to keep it all at a healthy remove, you know?
Yeah. There's some people who are genuinely very funny at that. Indeed. And there are some people who are like extremely uncomfortable about it.
It's a very strange thing. I think that you must keep a layer between yourself and the world if you are going to be presenting yourself online. And I don't do that. I don't do that on Trucks just because we have such a small audience here. But like on my Tumblr, you know, which has a larger audience somehow, you know, although nothing resembling an actual audience, you cannot be fully present there, you know.
Right.
It made me unhappy when I tried to do that, and I sort of figured out a way to be intimate and share my thoughts, but also to be at a remove.
But what if you do just want to have a space online where you can sort of easily be yourself with other like-minded folks? Is the only way to do it to do a very unsuccessful Trucks podcast for several years and then like make a Discord channel that is like suited to your exact vibe, or is there some other way to make this happen?
Sure, I think there are plenty of ways to make this happen. You can, for example, get an account on Mastodon or a number of other largely unsuccessful, you know, satellite social media environments with zero discoverability, so that if you do end up, you know, finding people, it's only going to be off of a very short list.
Even then, though, that's like the whole structure of posting on sites like that is like, here's my content, you know, and I'll run it in parallel to your content, And if you like, you can comment on my content, and I can comment on your content, and that's what a social relationship online is now.
I thought,
and this is kind of like
what other way of being in a social relationship is there? Isn't that just what being with other humans is?
I really hope not.
I
feel like when you're just in a room with other people, you're having a conversation instead of, you know.
What is a conversation if not saying a thing, i.e. creating content, and then another person reacting to your content with more content?
You're not saying the thing in here's the Josh conversation room versus here's the Isaac conversation room. You're just...
Oh, but aren't you? Oh, but aren't you, I say.
I don't know.
I'm generally pretty aware of whose room I'm in when I'm having a conversation with people.
You see what I mean? Like everything is like tagged according to who is the OP, like who's the originator of this discussion thread versus like.
I'm hardly comfortable in a situation where I don't feel like I'm OP, and you're the commenter.
I think if we are to begin to see regular human face-to-face conversations as content creation, then the brainworms have gone too far.
Well, what is conversation really? You know, it's a way to keep you busy while you toil in the fields. You know.
Yes.
It's just noise.
It's all bullshit. The end.
It's not true. It's just like in most of these cases, what is being said is not the point. You know, most conversations I have with human beings outside of the internet zone and people I've known for years are with my coworkers, and those conversations mean nothing. There is no content in those conversations. Those are just, you know, ways to acknowledge other people are there.
I mean, I think that you are actually, you seem to be being cynical, but also you are hitting on the truth and the not so bad truth of it, which is that when you're having a conversation with humans, you're not focused on the content, of the conversation quite as much as you are upon the vibe of the interaction. And those cordial work interactions that you're talking about, you're kind of making sure that the vibe at work is fine, right?
Yes.
Whereas in a more friendly context, there's a more intimate kind of vibe that you're curating. And I think that it might be fair to say that this is what is missing in a lot of how online conversation is structured.
Yeah, no, it is very interesting. Like, even within the Trucks Discord, he said, you have people who show up, he said, who seem to think that presenting funny or quirky content, he said, is what we're after, he said, rather than, you know, a general sort of chill vibe where people can hang out and not be distressed by your sudden fucking non sequitur quips, he said.
There's someone in particular that Isaac is really annoyed about on the Trucks Discord, and I don't know if annoying Isaac personally is a bannable offense or not, but we're negotiating it.
It's not.
It is weird though, because that is just how some people interact now, and maybe that
Let's
has to do with
Let's make this a teachable
online.
moment. You know?
But you know,
Like,
that
even
said,
though
if
it's
you're
maybe
genuinely
not
funny, some people interact that way with us, I think, and we love them because they're good at it. You know, so.
God, that's terrible. That is terrible. We need to edit this part out. We need to edit this part out.
I don't think that we do. I think that we are actually getting onto something quite interesting here, which is that on some level, it's not bad to be. It's an ancient archetype. Is, you know, the clown, the guy who shows up and makes everybody laugh. And it's not this. It's a problem if that's all you're capable of ever being, right? But still, like that's a legitimate way to interact. It's just that it does kind of, in this online context, take on a weird vibe, a weird kind of.
It's definitely not how you should introduce yourself unless you're very, very good at it.
Yeah.
And have the confidence, and you're, you know, are skilled in such a way where you can let your humanness sort of ooze out concomitantly with the performative aspect of it. And, you know, obviously the reason why this particular thing bothers me so much is that it's totally how I behaved for like the first 20 to 25 years of my life. You know, I didn't understand it. I thought that, you know, the only value that I had was my cleverness. And,
yeah, and I think before the internet was doing this to people, the radio and television was.
I don't even think that it was the fault of any media that I consumed, or I mean, because I did this in real life also. It's if you don't understand that, like, creating that sort of friendly vibe is the precursor to any kind of meaningful communication.
Right.
And you think your value as a human being is, like, bound up in how smart you are, or what you know, or, like, your ability to phrase things in a fun and clever way, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Or at least you're setting yourself up for having certain kinds of friendships.
Yeah, I think you're limiting yourself, and not intentionally.
Yeah.
Because
I don't know. I mean,
there is a distinction between a performer and a person.
Yes.
And if you are in fact performing all of the time, you are being the thing that you just posited, which is a Twitch streamer IRL at all times.
But at the same time, I think it's important to remember that we do kind of we all find ourselves kind of uncomfortably straddling that line without meaning to sometimes.
Well, we of course wear our various, faces in various contexts, and we've, like, this is news to nobody. It's just a matter of, like, being aware of valuing other kinds of presentation.
Yeah.
And it's also, if you've already in some way established that you are a friend, that you are lovable, that you are vulnerable, that you are a human, then you can be that clown 95% of the time, and people will still feel warmth toward you because they know where that clowniness is coming from. And I'm thinking of, like, a couple of other folks who we have around in that sense.
Sure. I don't want to call anyone out, by the way. I love each and every one of you special little people.
Josh does, which is why it's good that I'm not running the place by myself.
So who's the best VTuber and why?
I think that Inugami Krone, the dog girl, is the best VTuber. She has the sort of boundless energy and positivity. She's funny. She's kind of not entirely human in a way that, like, works with this. She has a friend who she's constantly, shipping herself at, who is a sort of cool cat girl, which is like, fuck, what else do you want out of life? Her name is Okamu, I think. Nekomata Okamu, something.
Is it material to ask what kinds of games she plays?
She plays, like, actually I discovered an ancient NES Castlevania Metroid-like, which I had never heard of because she was playing it, which was never released in America, and so that was awesome. Okayu, not Okasu or Okamu. Okayu. Nekomata is the cool cat girl. But they, like, I've seen them play Super Mario Brothers, original Super Mario Brothers, Tetris 99, Minecraft, Fall Guys, this ancient NES, Metroid game with cute characters in it. There's a lot of Minecraft. There's with the English speaking streamers seem to go more toward the sort of the Minecraft horror game area, but pretty much what any other streamer would stream.
Okay. I was wondering if the different characters had, like, different tastes.
Yeah.
Like, this one's into VNs, this one's into action games. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they're all human beings, and they play the games that they want to play, I think. In large part.
You'd think there would be, like, fucking brand deals with games sometimes with a company running it.
I'm sure it'll all, it'll all come. There's a shark girl who I like named Gorgura. She's one of the English speaking ones, and she's very good at rhythm games, but she doesn't play them very often because I think those aren't the ones that generate the views. So
Yeah.
maybe there was a certain amount of that. And of course, I'm only watching the stuff that people have decided to clip on YouTube. So I'm only getting, you know, sort of that sample.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's all very. It just became a thing out of nowhere, and
it did. It did.
it's probably going to be increasingly a thing as time goes on.
And Corona is most famous now for this Banjo-Kazooie derived content, and God knows.
Yeah, that sounded like a sketch,
God knows
right? So-
why one would play Banjo-Kazooie for any reason. But
Isaac on the record Isaac on the record as a Banjo-Kazooie hater.
I don't think the Rare games are very good. They put they put Donkey Kong Country 2 on the Virtual Console well, that's not what it's called, but you know, the Switch Super Nintendo Collection.
It's got the music.
Great music, yeah. No, what's his name? The guy who does the music who did the music for Rare?
I can't remember right now.
He's but he's a cool guy.
Yeah.
But no,
is it Grant Kirkhope? Is that him?
Grant Kirkhope is in fact the name. Thank you. But they're like terrible punishing collectathons and with, you know, and they're not funny, and they think they're funny.
It's true, they're not funny, and they do think they're funny.
They're bad. They're bad. They're all bad as far as I'm concerned. But they're also bad. Particularly
I think they made a big
NES
impression. I think they made a big impression in the Nintendo 64 days because they had like these big open outdoor spaces that you could explore freely, and that was kind of neat back then. But yeah, they had this like greatest game developer kind of rep back then, which when you look back at their games, it's like these are very quaint and of their time.
And not actually good at being games for the most part.
Yeah.
The Super Nintendo, they had that reputation dates back to the Super Nintendo because Donkey Kong Country had the first
it was a technical marvel in a way.
Yeah, it had those 2D 3D graphics which you'd never seen before on the Super NES. They looked cooler than anything else on a 16-bit system then, although they look quite bad now. I'd say that other games waxy from that era have held up better in terms of their visual design. But we didn't notice that as when we were kids. We just ate that shit up. But no, they're not very good. There's my controversial take of the day, even more so than bagging on random people in our Discord. That's the problem with turning your parasocial relationships into social relationships. The persons who you were following may decide to randomly attack you personally.
If you like Rare games, then fuck you. That's what we're saying.
No.
That's exactly what we're saying.
That's okay. That's apparently what we're saying. Fuck you, H-Bomb.
Yeah, he loves them. He also thinks Dark Souls 2 is the best one, so yeah, fuck him.
Yeah, he's just an idiot. Let's be real. But his heart's in the right place.
Yeah.
So.
Oh shit, I went in the wrong.
I feel about him you know that the thing about the thing about YouTube streamers in general, the thing about content creators in general is the same as the thing with professional wrestlers.
Okay.
Is that sometimes you'll be like, "Oh, this one's one of the smart ones," and that's not smart by human standards. That's smart by wrestler/YouTuber standards.
Yeah. Oh no, it's all happening now. The
thing
I was afraid of.
You straight up invaded a Walmart parking lot here, and you killed, I think, 2 or 3 people. I don't know how you're going to get yourself out of this one.
We're gonna have to fully. Oh God. Okay. You know what? Just fuck it.
Sorry, I was just not paying attention for a second, and things got really, really bad.
What's the one that summons the truck? I'm just gonna cheat at this point.
That seems totally reasonable.
I think it's F9. Yeah, it did it. Okay, first try. So we've taken an unexpected turn at the end of this Trucks, but
into bagging on
other YouTubers.
Other YouTubers. Are we YouTubers?
I mean, sort of. We are YouTubing.
But we're not VTubing.
We're not VTubing. We could
and
become
we're not
VTubers.
streaming. Although we did stream. That's
Yeah.
a thing that we did do. And in fact, the Trucks Discord came out of our stream of Last Guardian.
Yeah.
So.
Damn, I was just thinking actually the other day, and you mentioning the Last Guardian playthrough becomes a okay excuse for me to bring this question up on air. Do you want to do a Mumble Squad next instead of a Trucks, so that we don't have to talk about Joe Biden?
Sure. Did you have a game in mind?
Yeah, I think we can. I think there's some pretty good options available to us.
Yeah, no, I'm down for I am famously down for whatever, and
Famously down for whatever. I like that.
yeah, it's definitely not true, but in this case, yeah, let's do a non-truck. Let's do a good old-fashioned Mumble Squad next time, and we can
Sweet.
talk about things that are not anywhere near anything important to us. It'll be good.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Okay. Goodbye, Truckos.
Bye-bye.